good evening. This is Austin from the Austin channel, and this is not a movie review, nor is it an episode of Better Performer. And yes, I will remind that that episode will be of Mark Wahlberg because, I we will settle that episode. But this is a public announcement in regards to Election Day. Just yesterday evening, I received my sample ballot for the presidential general election. And the sample ballot is where you mark on political candidates or state propositions or local city measures in which way you'll be marking whether you vote for this certain candidate or whether or not you'll be voting yes or no on a certain city measure or state proposition. I think it's good. I think the sample ballot is good practice. It prepares you for what you'll decide on election day, without what you vote on election day, without having a line of 20 people standing behind you until you make up your mind. It's just it helps you to not be a procrastinator on election day. I mean, come on. Come on. Come on. It's just good decision making that takes 5 to 10 minutes of your time, and think of it this way: the sooner you vote, the more so you can go about your day, and the more others can participate, and the quicker the votes get counted to see, whether when it comes to a certain initiative or a certain candidate, they can count the votes and see if your vote was, you can see whether your vote was on the winning side, whichever that may be. Maybe you voted for a certain candidate, or maybe you voted yes or no on certain statewide propositions. But when it comes to voting, voting is our voice, our opinion. It's proving that we average citizens can make decisions. If it would be great if they did so with the Oscars. Same as they have us vote on American Idol, they have us vote on the Oscars. The movie goers nominate who we want to see be up for an Oscar, and we vote for them to have the Oscar, not some, I don't know, grumpy old man in a back room in some private meeting manipulating an award ceremony. But come on. Okay, yes, I admit I'm a firm believer in direct democracy. We all have different views, but it's like what one former vice president, Hubert Humphrey, said: "We live in a country where it's majority rules, but minority rights are preserved, even if that minority may take stands that we think are a little weird." But your vote is more so needed on city measures and statewide propositions, because sometimes those city measures and state propositions are not backed or drafted by elected officials. They are drafted by private citizens like you and myself, and sometimes they're good ideas that means well for everyone, and sometimes they're very questionable ideas. I don't want to say bad because I don't want to make it too absolute, but questionable or debatable ideas that's not really on the up and up and could just be out of mean-spiritedness. There's been some initiatives in the past here in California, especially, that has been out of mean-spiritedness. Like in 2012, Prop 32 being one of them. Prop 32 would have taken away the collective bargaining rights of nurses, teachers, firefighters, and our police officers. It would have harmed our everyday heroes and harmed the services needed for average citizens. But Prop 32 failed, thank goodness, and all's right with the universe. But I want to say, go out and vote. And when you do, vote in person. I vote in person. I've never, the first time I voted it was 2004. Who I voted for, well, all right. Well, let's just say his name, the candidate's name was not George W. Bush. That I will say. But I will say that you vote in person. I don't mess with absentee. I've been voting since 2004. I don't mess with absentee because I believe that absentee and provisional ballots that's how your vote gets stolen or missing. They could, absentee ballots don't get counted until 2 weeks after the election, and completely counted till 2 weeks after the election, especially a presidential election. And you know what? You could have where the candidate one candidate wins the regular votes, but with the absentee, when those absentees are finally counted, oh yes, it turns out the other guy won. Actually would have won. So I don't vote absentee because if I vote a certain candidate, I want to make sure that when I vote in person, I vote with the hope that the candidate I vote for or the measure I voted yes on or the measure I voted against, either the candidate either won, the measure either passed or failed. But when you vote in person, vote your conscience. And if you happen to not like any candidates, well, write somebody in. But again, but your vote is needed when it comes to blocking unfair taxes or discrepancy, or to vote against discrepancies in funding our schools, or, well, depriving our public safety and law enforcement. Your vote is needed there. So don't try to make Hildebeest and Trump head an excuse. If certain propositions and city measures pass without your vote and you don't like it, you have only yourself to blame. So go out and vote. And that's my video. I'm tired as heck. And yeah, the next video will no doubt be a movie review. Good night.